Okay. All right. Now that we got the microphone. Thank you.
Testing.
Good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We'll begin our Board of Appeals meeting for the City of Holland. Board members are regular citizens of Holland who have volunteered and have been appointed by City Council to consider applications to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Housing Board of Appeals, and the Construction Board of Appeals, and for accommodations for persons with disabilities. This board must interpret each application as it relates to city ordinances. This board is not empowered to rezone or to take any action that could be considered rezoning. The agenda is in the order that the applications were received by the city. The presence of 4 board members is required for a quorum. It also takes 4 concurring votes to approve applications. When your application is called, we ask that you come to the microphone and state your name and address. We will hear the applicant first, and then anyone supporting the application, followed by anyone opposing it. After the public hearing is closed, there will be no other opportunity for further public comment related to the application. Decisions of the board are final and are effective on the day of such decision. However, applicants may appeal decisions to the circuit court in accordance with state law. If you elect not to stay for our deliberation and decision, you may call the Community and Neighborhood Services Department tomorrow morning after 8:30 and learn the results. Meetings are streamed online, live, and recorded, and are available to view on the city's YouTube channel. And if we have no objections to our agenda as it is, let's move on with our first item.
All right, the first item is for 1230 Beach Drive, application number 21.09Z. John and Susan Knoll are requesting either a special exception from section 3910 or a variance from 39-214 to construct a deck at their home at 230 Beach Drive. The deck would have a 0-foot setback from the north property line where a 30-foot setback is required, and a 0-foot setback from the east property line where a 7-foot setback is required. The Board of Appeals can approve this request if certain conditions are met. And this is from 39-10, 39-214C, and 39-405C.
Thank you. And it looks like we have our applicants at the podium. So again, please state your names, address, and we'd love to hear about your application.
John and Sue Knoll, 1230 Beach Drive. Our application is to expand our front deck, the front meaning the part that faces the lake. Last year we ran into a lot of difficulty using our front yard because of the flooding, and you've all seen pictures of that. Am I coming through okay? Okay. We've lived there for 6 years now, and we've never really been able to use our deck like we would like. It's an 80-inch deck. We can get 4 chairs side by side. If there's any other family members with us, any friends, we have a difficult time entertaining any of that kind of thing because we can't even look at each other. We're kind of just facing the water, which is fine, but somebody over there is talking, somebody over here can't. It gets very warm out there in the summertime, and we don't have room for a table with an umbrella or anything like that. So that's kind of what our request is. Past years when we weren't flooded, the water level was still quite high. Our front yard's, it's kind of low. We'd put a chair out there and it would just sink into the ground. And we do realize it's the right of way of the city, but we do maintain it, and we just feel like if we could get to the property line with we're adding a triangle piece, not even a square piece, we could enjoy it a lot more than we do today. So what we're here for. So this is my counsel. So if I say something wrong, she's going to kick me, she said. So open for questions.
Any questions from our board members? Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, could you tell me the distance the deck will be constructed from the east property line off of Beach Drive?
The east one is approximately 3 feet from the, we have 18 corners on our property, so it's kind of hard to decide which line we're really talking about, but
Sure.
exactly east towards our neighbor Greg Komeka. I think the application came in, we were looking for a 0 setback. That's probably my confusion when I made the application. We're actually looking to maintain what our deck is today, and that's 3 feet from the property line.
And then how far is it from the property line to your neighbor's deck? Do you know that?
It's about 6 feet.
Okay.
It could be the 7 feet, but I don't believe it is. And I should point out, there's 5 of us on that stretch
Mhm.
called Beach Drive. Every deck, every property in one way, shape, or form encroaches on that road right of way already. Some of it by a foot, some of it by a whole deck at the far east end. So we're not really asking to even do that. We'll stay off in the line. They would just make our enjoyment so much better, sit out there and enjoy the lake. And we do own property on the other side of the lake. It's about 3 feet to our seawall, and we have a dock where our boat sits. So
Okay.
we are using the lake in that fashion, but there's no room to really sit out there, so.
If this board were to approve the construction of this deck, will the deck be built, will you put backfill in underneath the deck? Is that your plan, or
No,
will you prevent the water in any way from going under the deck?
not any more than we do today. We have a crawl space under our house, so we never had water in a problem in the house last year.
But the deck will go over the water, basically? And you're okay with that?
If it floods again,
Correct.
yeah, there'll be water underneath there.
So
So-
there's a possibility that driftwood could float up there and float under your deck, and I know that can be smelly at times, and
Yeah.
that may be
No, yeah,
a problem for your neighbors,
yeah,
and for you, for that matter.
right.
Um,
So we'll probably get rid of the grass, obviously,
Mhm.
and then put some kind of a fabric down with maybe some stones or something, but we're not planning on raising the level. We were instructed that we were not allowed to do that, so we weren't allowed to change our
Elevation.
elevation.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's correct or not, but that was our assumption, so.
I have a question. Is it your understanding that if we were to approve this tonight, that prior to construction, you would have to have a surveyor stake the property lines at the site?
Was that my understanding? No. I had surveys done, and there are stakes.
Oh, it's already been surveyed? Uh-huh.
Not in the last year or so,
Uh-huh.
but when you were there yesterday, you saw
Yes.
the pillar.
Yes,
That's one of the stakes.
okay,
And I had the little yellow stakes in the ground.
okay.
Uh,
Is that prior survey sufficient for the requirement?
There's, what he can do is string a line between the existing monuments that show where the property line is and double check his yellow
Okay.
stakes.
Okay,
That'll save him time from doing that, but we would like to know the exact dimension
Yeah.
of his existing deck to the property line, so that may entail the services of a surveyor.
I plan to have a drawing done by Duluth Lumber, Duke Duluth, once we have the approval, so.
there's another important matter, and that is, and this is based upon the survey, and that is that the deck, you will have to show that the deck will be at least 10 feet away from any neighboring dwellings. That will be a condition if we were to approve this tonight.
A dwelling as a house, not their deck.
Yeah, usually that section is house to house, dwelling to dwelling.
Yep, that would not be a problem.
Okay, that's my question.
Your existing deck is going to remain?
Yes.
You're not removing that or resurfacing, you're just gonna add on to it?
I'm gonna probably put new deck boards on the whole thing.
Okay.
So we'll match it. Right now it's 2x6, probably gonna put some kind of a pre-finished material on there.
And there's steps going from your deck down on the north side of the deck, that's gonna get removed, is that correct?
Those will be removed.
Okay.
And then on the east side of our deck is where our new steps will be.
Okay.
I believe one of the other conditions that we would want to
We are not in a floodplain. Our house is the only one that's not.
Okay.
Well, I'd like
The
to
house
check
is
on
not.
that because I have the mapping program and it appears that the house is not, but the deck would be. So what we can do is we need just confirmation from the DEQ or whatever they are now.
Eagle.
Eagle,
Eagle, excuse me.
that a permit is required or not required. If it's not required, we just want something to tell us that, so we can make sure we're also following any state requirements.
Okay.
That would be a condition also, if this goes in the affirmative.
Good.
Any other questions from our board members for the applicant? Okay. Thank you very much for coming today and explaining it. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to open the public hearing for this application and ask if anybody would like to speak in support of this. Go ahead and please come to the podium. Okay. And I do recognize we did receive one email in favor. We'll talk about that at the end of the public hearing before I close it. Okay, you've got an email in favor. Go ahead, Mallory.
Do you want me to read the whole thing or no? Okay.
Just, I guess probably who it from.
Name and address. Yeah, so we did receive one email in support from David and Sherry Phillips at 1234 Beach Drive.
So one received in favor of this application. Okay. All right. Anybody who wishes to speak in opposition of this application, go ahead and take this time, come to the podium. Not seeing anybody. Again, we did receive some communications via email. Go ahead.
Yes, we received 2 emails in opposition, one from Greg Kaminka at 1226 Beach Drive, and then another one from Kathy Cusimano and Ed Kita at 1232 Beach Drive.
I'd like to clarify that the letter that was written by Mr. Kaminka because he was under the impression that the deck was gonna be built to the 0 property line.
0 on the east.
On the east, adjacent to his property.
Right. Okay. Which is what was advertised in the notice, but not.
That's correct.
Not exactly.
Correct.
What is being currently proposed. Okay. All right. At this time, I will close the public hearing. And if there's any other questions from our board, go ahead and seek a motion here.
All right, I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that we approve the request for a special exception to construct the deck on the property at 1230 Beach Drive.
Support.
We have a motion, we have support. Fred, you have some
Yeah,
additional?
some of the reasons, at more than 60%, 60% or more of the lots on the same side of the street within 300 feet are developed at a lesser setback than what is required. So it's similar to what the applicant is doing. The encroachment of the deck is in character with and not detrimental to the adjoining neighborhood. And the deck appears to be 10 feet away, or the deck appears to be 10 feet away from all neighboring dwellings, a matter which will be confirmed along with the conditions that we place on this approval. So would you like me to state the conditions at this point as well? Okay, so conditions of this approval that I'm moving towards is 1, to obtain a building permit from the Community Neighborhood Services if it hasn't been done already. Prior to construction, a land surveyor has to stake the property lines, or there has to be proof that this has already taken place, and we need to be able to see that property line. Because the third condition is to obtain a permit from EGLE to build in the floodplain, if it is in the floodplain. And fourthly, the deck will not be more than 10 feet away, or it has to be at least 10 feet away from all neighboring dwellings.
Was that condition 2 as well?
That was condition, that there are a total of 4 conditions.
Okay.
We're good. So is that sufficient, Vince?
Yes, I think I have, surveying states or proof that lines, are ascertainable by the city, in its inspection to comply with your motion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, support of all those conditions, correct?
Can or should we add that there should be a deck lattice below the deck so that unwanted dead fish don't cause a problem? I'm not sure if that's necessary or not, but
We hadn't talked about that.
Yeah, I'm not
The
seeing that
neighboring
necessary.
decks do not have anything like that.
it's not important. I just thought it's a detail, so
Okay. I'll just go with the 4
that's fine.
conditions.
Okay, we have a motion, we have support. Any other discussion? Then I think we can take a vote.
All right, so the motion is to approve with the conditions. Van Antwerp,
Yes?
Visaki,
Yes.
Bedard,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Fusak,
Yes.
Sorek.
Yes.
Motion to approve passes.
All right, thank you. And our second item on the agenda,
All right, so this one is for 17 and 21 East 8th Street, application number 21.10C. Matt Haverdink is requesting variances from section 705.A and 706.1.1 of the Michigan Building Code 2015 to install a door in a wall that services 2 buildings on separate properties. The code prohibits openings of any kind in walls located on property lines. The Board of Appeals can approve this request if certain conditions are met. Michigan Building Code 705.A and 706.1.1.
all right, and do we have somebody here? Please, again, name and address, please.
I'm Matt Haverdink, and my address is 5547 Lakeshore Drive in Holland. And yeah, so
Okay, go ahead and describe your application and what you're looking to do.
yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward, but so we've got the 2 different, they're treated as separate buildings as far as parcel numbers. We looked at combining them into one early on to maybe have like 1 stairway in the front and 1 in the back instead of 2 from 8th and 2 coming from the north side. We looked at a lot of different factors, and we were kind of under the impression that we would have to do an elevator. If we combine it into one, because there's 5 units, we need an elevator and fire suppression, and we already figured this cost could get pretty high. So we thought, let's keep it separate and try to keep the cost down. And actually, we ended up having to do fire suppression, so that I think spent $65,000 on a whole new system for that. So that's fine and all, but so now we have 2 stairways from both sides coming up, and there's a common area. So there's 3 units on one side, 2 on the other, and each of them have like a common area where the doorways to the units are together. Right now, for the building process and so forth, there's a doorway cut between them, and then we just felt like, so my partner is planning on having one of the units kind of for their use, and we kind of are keeping one for our use, the ones that face 8th Street, and being friends and partners. And also for cleaning and maintenance, we thought if we had like we were thinking a 3, I think the code is 2-hour fire rating, and I think
That's correct.
We're talking about doing a 3-hour fire rating for that door, so that for like cleaning and maintenance people to get through, or even if it's possible, like for us to go through without having to go down and around and back up on the other unit. So I think the thought is we could make it actually safer, than what the code requires, but it would just be a nice feature. And we're treating both of these properties as one unit. The water, the gas, the fire suppression, the internet, it's all coming through 21 and passing through. We kind of have, like, I guess it'd be an easement into 17. It's one loan. It's one LLC that owns them. We thought that maybe if this helped, if we ever did sell one of the properties for whatever reason, then under that condition, if it was like different owners for different properties, we could, close that, opening if that was even an option. But yeah, so that's basically where we're at with that.
So if you built it as one, or it was, if the 2 parcels if they're all as one building, if you didn't separate them, then we wouldn't need this variance, right?
Yeah, and
Your decision to go with two separate has created this need for the variance.
Right, so yeah, like I said, the elevator and fire suppression were kind of factors, big
Mhm.
costs, that kind of deterred us from that, because we knew it'd probably end up being more than what you ever expect when it's building, but then we also thought if, it gave us a little more flexibility if like, all right, this project is getting really big and we wanted to sell one of the either 17 or the 21, we could potentially sell one of them and keep it, separate.
Sure.
Might give us a little more flexibility.
Okay,
But right now, we're planning on keeping them all within the same LLC.
gotcha. Well, we have several criteria that we look at this for, and probably the biggest one is, we have these questions that we apply towards
Mhm.
all applicants, and
Mhm.
it keeps us on the straight and narrow and keeps Vince happy, the attorney here, so. So one of the biggest ones is, which you spoke to a little bit, but I'm gonna need some more information on it. It says, will keeping the wall and not installing the door result in exceptional practical difficulties for the applicant? And in my opinion, kinda sounds like convenience and not exceptional, practical difficulties. Change my
Yeah,
perspective.
Right.
Changed my mind.
What's the guy stands by with a card or
Yes,
something?
yep,
Change
yeah,
my mind or something
yeah,
like
right.
that. Whatever that is, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. It's probably, like if we're doing some short-term rentals and we got cleaning people, and they're
Yeah.
working between different units, it's going down, it's going around, and it's coming back up. That would probably be
The biggest
the
thing.
biggest thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of stairs in that building.
Sure. Yeah.
Between the 3 floors and so forth, and so sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of trade-off between
Yeah.
that, however much the elevator is now, I don't even know,
Yeah,
couple hundred G's or
one other,
something.
I thought
I'm
it
sure.
actually might provide, if they're, heaven forbid, a fire on one side, it could provide potentially 2 other, ways of egress.
Yeah,
maybe not.
we talked about that in study session, and I have some knowledge in this area, and you usually go to the outside. You just go to your mean of egress that's been established already, because you wouldn't put an exit sign over the top of that, because it wouldn't be an approved exit.
Oh,
probably.
right.
All right. There are other criteria. If the door is installed, will the building and surrounding structure still function as prescribed by the code for fire and separation requirements?
It sounds like it would.
Yeah, I
If
think
we had
it
a-
would. Yeah,
Sounds like we're planning on doing a 3-hour fire-rated door, so.
right. Yeah, there's a lot of options there.
Mhm.
You can spend a lot of money on fire doors, that's for sure. And then, will installing the door substantially deviate from the performance required by the code for health, safety, welfare of the occupants? And it doesn't sound like it
Right.
would either. And then the other one is that the request general and reoccurrent in nature, so as to make an amendment of the code because of other property owners will request the same variance. And that one, I kind of look at that one going, we're seeing it more often, but is it truly general and reoccurrent? Probably not. The criteria
Yeah.
is we have to hit all 4 of these.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, in the manner that would grant this construction code variance.
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I think the first one is probably, like you had said, convinced me of that. It would be, as the owner of both, I think it would be a nice.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, right.
I'm hearing you.
But right, and again.
It's that dang
it's-
elevator,
it's-
that decision with the elevator probably is
Yeah,
coming back around.
could be.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm good with questions.
Okay,
Could we connect a balcony?
say it again?
Could we connect a balcony? Get around the firewall?
Yeah,
Sounds like you're causing trouble over there.
Just
do a lot of fun things, yeah, yeah.
Okay, rest of the board, I'm asked all my questions.
Any other questions?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right. And I will open the public hearing. And look to see anybody moving up to the podium in support or in opposition. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move for questions from our board or possibly a motion.
I don't have any more questions myself, if anybody else does.
I think the first criteria is written in such a way that it's a little bit ambiguous, or it's at least subjective. It would be hard to prove this one way or another. If the applicant believes that it does result in an exceptional or practical difficulty for the applicant, I think that it would be something I would probably accept, just talking to all the other board members about it. It's difficult. The line between convenience and practical difficulty is a little bit blurry to me, so. Anyway. that's
The
my-
applicant stated that he's keeping it separate for the need to maybe, or not the need, but the possibility to sell it, but yet wants to combine it for convenience. And I can't I don't justify those two means.
Could I say something or am I done?
I think we're done.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, that's all right.
I'd like to make a motion to deny.
I would support that.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. We have support.
Sure.
Go ahead, John.
As we talk about the first one, I don't believe it's an exceptional or practical difficulty beyond, I don't see it. So that's probably the only criteria I'll put on there. I thought about the one general and reoccurrent, and I'm just speaking to voice my opinion. I think in the future, all other applicants, if it comes across to the board, should be judged on their own merit, and I didn't want to include that one in the findings of fact, right, wrong, or otherwise. Is that enough, Vince?
If you could just
Restate
restate,
it.
I think you've stated it already
Yep.
to the panel, but now that you've made the motion, if you could just state how or why you do not see a practical difficulty established by the applicant, that will just help for the record.
Right, I just don't think the convenience of moving between the two and for cleaning or visiting is an exceptional difficulty. And I think, and I feel for the applicant, because it's a catch-22. You go one way, you get these things that come at you, and you go that way, and you get these criteria that come at you. But in this particular case, I can't support this one.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? And I'll ask for a vote.
All right, the motion is to deny. Bedard,
Yes?
Bauer,
Yes.
Van Antwerp,
No.
Fusak,
Yes.
Vaisaki,
Yes.
Sorek.
Yes.
Motion to deny passes.
All right. Thank you. And our third item on our agenda, 97 West 12th Street.
Perfect. So 97 West 12th Street, application number 21.11Z. Don Lehman is requesting a special exception for accommodation to construct an addition to their home in the historic district at 99 West 12th Street. The addition would connect the house to the existing detached garage. The garage currently has an 8-inch setback from the east property line, where a 5-foot setback is required when it is attached to the house. The Board of Appeals can approve this request if certain conditions are met: 39-185F, 39-285C, and 39-17.4.
Okay, thank you. And I see an empty audience. So I'm guessing we're not going to have an applicant here to explain the application. We're not doing any Zoom connections or phone a friend here, so I don't know if there's anything we want to discuss. I can open a public hearing. And there were no letters in support or in opposition. There's nobody here to support or oppose this. None of our board members want to jump out there and act as a citizen to do that? Okay. All right, then. I will now close the the public hearing and look for a motion from our board or any discussion.
I think we should discuss it quick.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
From our prior discussion, it appears as if there has been a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic District Commission. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Well, I think the second one is also relevant. In this case, the staff knows that the project meets the requirement of the building code and other applicable codes. Is that correct?
Have they pulled a building permit for this yet?
They pulled a building permit without the connection to the garage because of this particular issue.
Okay.
Okay, so that's still questionable.
And going back to our study session, we also talked about a condition to keep the garage a single story. I believe I have that right.
Mhm.
That we would want to make that a condition of the, of this.
Motion.
I think we also discussed that the addition will not be detrimental to the health, safety, welfare, reasonable use and enjoyment of adjoining and nearby properties since it's well within property lines.
And it's between buildings.
All right then. Sounds like we have enough to make a motion here.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this to allow the variance request.
Special exception.
I'm
Special
sorry,
exception.
special
That's okay.
exception.
Any support?
Support.
We have support. Okay, and Mark, do you want to take us through your motion, please?
Sure. A certificate of appropriateness by the Historic District Commission has been received. The project will meet the requirements of the building codes. And the neighborhoods will not be impacted in a negative way by health, safety, and welfare to the public. I'd also like to make the condition that it be, that the garage not become a dwelling for a living space, and that it remains one single story.
Alrighty. Any other discussion?
Just one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
There was some conditions attached to the appropriateness from the historic district. Do those automatically come along with the package, or must they be added to their conditions? Or should they be recognized that there were exceptions to that? I'm sorry, conditions to that, excuse me.
Those conditions will still be relevant and in effect automatically because they submitted it as a whole package as they're presenting it here tonight. So this is not different from what they got approved.
Okay, but should it be recognized by this group that there was conditions that have to follow through with that by the historic district?
There's no reason we can't.
Just a technicality, that's all.
There's no reason we can't.
Yeah, I think it's fine to recognize it. The only issue would be if there's multiple certificates of appropriateness. There's only one, so, but it doesn't hurt to recognize those because they were within that certificate that the board's recognizing.
As a condition, or just
Acknowledgement.
just
Acknowledge.
Yeah, I
acknowledge?
think it speaks for itself, but like I said, as long as there's no confusion as to what certificate of appropriateness we have in mind, and so I'm looking at one that was dated May 5, 2020. You might want to indicate that through your record, meeting date of May 5, 2020. And I did have another question before.
Okay, so we had a motion. We had 3 proofs. We had a condition on the garage, and now an acknowledgement of the certificate of appropriateness dated May 5th, 2020 from the City of Holland Historic District Commission as all a part of the approval,
Yes.
just to be clear. And go ahead, Vince, you said you had something else?
Just one quick follow-up, and I think it was technically approved May 18, 2021, but I have a meeting date of May 5, 2020. That may have been a typo. Maybe it was May 5, 2021. No, it was last year? Okay, so we do have a date of 5/18/2021, signed by Phil Meyer, Preservation Planner. So just to make sure, for the record, because we're saying dates, sorry. I saw that 2020 date and I got a little nervous.
And that the certificate of appropriateness is extended till May 18, 2022.
Yes.
To add a third date to any confusion.
There you go. The only clarification I would ask is whether the moving board member could speak about why this is not detrimental. I heard in discussions something about within property lines and construction would be located between existing accessory building and home. I would just ask if those are the only two reasons, or are there any others that I should note?
Those are the only two, that and the fact that there's no one here protesting, or there was no received
Thank you. That's all.
incoming documents.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? I think we're ready for a vote on this one.
All right, the motion is to approve with conditions. Visaki,
Yes.
Fusak,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Bedard,
Yes.
Van Antwerp,
Yes.
Sorek.
Yes.
Motion to approve passes.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the approval of our minutes from the March 25th, 2021 virtual Board of Appeals meeting, hopefully our last virtual.
Virtual minutes.
They're not virtual. They're just digital. So can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay, and all in favor of approving them, or is there any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the minutes are approved. And our next meeting date is Thursday, June 24th, 2021. Any applications yet?
None official that I've paid, but we've had a couple of discussions.
Okay.
The sharks are circling. There's a couple of them.
There's a couple possibilities. Okay, I'm looking for one last final motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay. And I'll support it. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.